I'm going to make a swing set out of 2x4s. It'll be about 10 feet tall, and it'll consist of two A-frames that are just mirror images of each other for the sides, and then a horizontal member that the swing will hang from. I'm also going to make 4 steel brackets out of 2-inch by 1/4-inch flat bar that I will install in the corners of the swing set, and I think that'll make it really strong and should give it a kind of cool look, the combination of pine and metal. I'm just getting some glue down on these 3 sets of 2x4x10s. You can see in the background there that there's one pair already clamped up. I don't have enough clamps to do 3 more of them in a reasonable amount of time, so I'm just going to screw these ones together and live with the screw holes. I'm using Titebond 3 because it's going to go outside, even though I'm probably going to put 4 or 5 coats of urethane on this, so I don't think water's ever going to get to it, but better safe than sorry. I'm just going to square up the ends of these posts that I just glued up so they can get them marked for the cut that I want to make. I'm going to cut an 18-degree bevel onto one side of each of these posts, and then that's what will form the pocket that the horizontal member that the swings actually hang from will go into. I just make this cut with a skill saw. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it actually worked really well, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Moving on, I'm just marking up 2x6 to cut into some little pieces. These pieces will form the ledge that the horizontal cross member sits on. I made 4 of these, but in reality I only needed 2. The design changed about halfway through this project, so I'm showing myself making 4, but I'm only ever going to use 2 of these. Cool, huh? I'm going to lay one of these A-frames out so that I can mark where I want to put the mortises. I clamp the top together so that it won't move around while I'm adjusting the bottom of the A-frame to get the angle just right. Here I'm just double stick taping some blocks on to get a good clamping surface. Just right there. Yeah, right there. Okay, just marky. I'm going to make these mortises by making a series of cuts with the skill saw and then just busting out what remains with a hammer and cleaning it up with the chisel. I really like this method for making mortises because you can make really strong joinery with tools that pretty much everybody has. So I always feel like it's a really satisfying way to build things, and it always works super well for me. You may have noticed by now that there's no sound in this video, and that's because I'm an idiot. But let me go ahead and try and make up for it by meow 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 meow. Tap 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 bang bang tap 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 bang tap 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 bang 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 tap 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 bang bang bang. Very nice. 3 more times. I'm going to transfer these mortises to the other A-frame by just marking it with this angle gauge. It worked really well, and I think it saved me some time. Rather than cutting everything to the final size, I opted to sand these pieces down so they get a really nice fit in the mortises. And it worked out really well and didn't take a lot of time. You'll notice here that the sound is back, so no more sound effects. Sorry, guys. That's good. I tap these little offcuts into this pocket just to set the right gap on it. I'm rolling this over so that I can mark that member that I just tapped in, and then I'll take it out and go cut it with a skill saw. On the next A-frame that I build, which I didn't film, I just cut it in place, and it worked really well. So that's the way to do it. Now I'm just going to drill some 3/8 holes and insert some 3/8 bolts and bolt this all together. This drill that I'm using produced very little tear out as it exited the wood. I was pleasantly surprised and very impressed, so I'll leave a link in the description for that. So with the A-frames built, I'm going to move on to making the steel brackets. Here I'm just making some lines where I'll make cuts with an angle grinder. My plan is to just cut most of the way through this flat bar so that it makes it very easy to bend where I want it to bend. It is mucho frio outside today, so I'm not really looking forward to going out there, but I don't want to use my angle grinder in my garage. So that's what I'm doing. And don't forget to use your safety equipment out there, boys. Here I'm just cutting the bar to length, and then I'll make the partial cuts that will help me with the bends. I'm trying to cut about 3/4 way through the material here, leaving about a 1/16 inch of material. That should make a really easy bend and a really localized bend. I plan on welding all these seams shut after I have everything installed. I want to do that because I want it to be a little bit flexible as I'm installing it because, you know, working with 2x4s, nothing's straight, nothing's perfect, and neither are these brackets. So I want all the wiggle room I can get, and then once everything is bolted together, I will weld it in place. That came out perfectly. I'm clamping these together so that I can drill matching holes. Really the only place you need matching holes is in the pairs of brackets where they mount to the horizontal member, because those holes will receive a bolt that goes all the way through both of the brackets. All of the other holes just have a bolt that goes into wood that you'll just drill to match the bracket. I decided that the easiest way to assemble this swing set would be to mount the steel brackets onto the horizontal cross member first with one bolt so that they could pivot freely, and then I will assemble the swing set partially while it's on the ground, leaning on its side, and then tip it upright and finish the assembly process with it standing. So I'm assembling this here, and I'm tapping this horizontal member into place, lining it up with the lines that I made previously. You can see how those brackets just pivot out of the way, and that's why I only put one bolt in. Here I'm sinking in a big long screw, just one, into each side of the A-frame, so that those can also pivot freely while I try and get everything lined up. So now I'm just using a carpenter's square and some trigonometry to set the A-frame to 10 degrees past 90. I'll put one bolt through this bracket and leg and then do the exact same thing on the other A-frame. And now with a little bit of help I can get it stood up. You can see it's pretty wobbly right now, but as we get those other brackets installed, it gets really solid. Now that it's up in the air and not going to fall down because of those two brackets that I pre-installed, I can start installing all the bolts and not worry about it falling down and cutting me in half. You can see where the brackets meet the horizontal member up at the top. And like I said, those are the only holes that have to match in the brackets, because those are the only holes that have two holes with one bolt going through both of them, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So before welding on these, I preheated them a little because my welder's pretty wimpy. And then I just went ahead and laid down some really, really nice looking welds. In fact, I don't even want to show you guys how nice they looked. You know, you just imagine the nicest weld you've ever seen and know that mine were way better than that. So I'm just installing some eye bolts to hang the swings from. This should have really been the last step, but my little girl was dying to try this swing out. So I kind of pushed it forward a little bit. Now I'm just marking some lines on the bottoms of the legs that I can cut to that'll make the swing sit nice and flat on the concrete. I used a circular saw to cut some of the legs and a reciprocating saw to cut the others. I did this because I just couldn't decide which saw I was worse at using. You decide. Then I put some healthy chamfers on the bottom of the legs just to help it not splinter out, hopefully. And now I get the swings hung, and I'm pretty much done with this. This swing set turned out to be super solid. In fact, I can't see any movement in it even when I sit on it. I did test it out a little bit before I put my daughter and son in it, and it turned out really well. They have really enjoyed it so far, and I'm really happy with the build. Probably should have been made out of pressure-treated pine, but I'm a cheapo. Thanks for watching.